Thank you, KCIW listeners. We are here with the Wild Rivers Film News Radio program on KCIW 100.7 in the Curry County. We are also available on our global podcast, kciw.org. Thank you for all of the sponsors of 2024 that made the Wild Rivers Film Festival possible. We can't do it without you. Donations keep the movies playing. We have filmmakers that come into town, and we are looking forward to seeing them this third week of August 2025. We have tons of room for sponsors. Please go to wildriversfilmfestival.com to sign up and get your tickets and your sponsorship spaces. Today we have Bev Juday, one of our board members of the Wild Rivers Film Festival, and a special guest in the audience. Hey, Bev, thanks for doing the show today.
My pleasure, Amanda. So our guest today is a really exciting gentleman. We've been working with him a lot at the festival. We're lucky that he's up here. His name is Michael Gorse. And Michael grew up down in San Diego, but he's been involved in film, it seems like, since he could walk practically. I'm probably exaggerating that, Michael, but you are very, very talented in what you do, and we've been the benefactors of we've benefited off of that. So, Michael, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little about you? How'd you end up in Brookings?
Well, introducing myself is something I've been trying to avoid for a very long time. So you got me finally, and I'm here. I ended up in Brookings kind of by happenstance, and it kind of all started when I was a kid in San Diego playing folk masses at St. John's the Evangelist Church in San Diego and going to school down there. 12 years of Catholic education and grew up. And when I was about 16, I'm doing folk masses at St. John's, and our neighbors are the Arnsons family, and Joanne Arnson gets a job with the Park and Rec Department for Don and Bonnie Ward, who run San Diego Junior Theater. And they were in the process of starting a new song and dance troupe, kind of like the Young Americans, 25 kids, a 5-member band, and then 20 kids singing and dancing. I was the band guy, not singing and dancing. And I kind of worked with Don and Bonnie as their tech guy, too, from the beginning. And the whole thing happened kind of by accident. I was working at Hillside Hospital in the kitchen doing dishes and running trays up for the patients and whatnot. And Joanne came home one night and told my parents, you got to throw Mike's guitar and change of clothes in the back of the station wagon and get down there, grab him after work, take him to Balboa Park, and have him audition for this troupe, because I know they want him. Bizarre as that was, my parents took the bait. They got everything ready. They were long before cell phones. I knew nothing about this. I walk out from work and they're in the parking lot. Tell me what I'm going to do. I jump in the back of the station wagon. I change my clothes. We get down to the puppet theater in Balboa Park, where the auditions are being held. And lo and behold, I sit in the back of the audience with my guitar, and sooner or later I hear my name called. I've been doing folk masses. I throw the guitar over my shoulders. I start walking down the center aisle singing the 59th Street Bridge song. And I, honest to God, understood before I got to the stage, I already had the gig.
Wow.
I ended up learning banjo with them as well, and that was kind of fun. And so before I ever knew it, I was on stages with Jack Benny and working on a stage in Ronald Reagan's backyard when he was governor and things like that. It was pretty bizarre. That led to a job with the Park and Rec Department building scenery for San Diego Junior Theater, which really pretty much launched off the rest of my career, which went from there to the San Diego Opera Company, where I built scenery in their shop in the barrio at one end of the San Diego Bay, and I was living in a little house with my first wife at the other end in Coronado, and going home smelling like sawdust, looking at the sunset over San Diego. It just couldn't have been more idyllic. And I did that for several years. I ended up as the second electrician when San Diego Civic Theater got their first computerized lighting board, and did opera at the Civic Theater for several years before I got my journeyman's card. And about 3 weeks after getting my journeyman's card, I got offered my first road show. And I headed off on the road with Debbie Boone and Seven Brights for Seven Brothers on the way to Broadway, where we opened in summer of 1983 at the theater that's now the Neil Simon. And that was, I ended up doing 3-4 road shows in a row. I did a small stint with Yul Brynner near the end of his career on The King and I. Then my last big road show was Lauren Bacall's Woman of the Year, the first Broadway tour of that. And so that was my early career down in San Diego, how I got my footings. I came out of the road stuff, the marriage kind of, road things tend to kill marriages, and unfortunately we didn't do well out of that. Yeah, I had hoped she would go on the road with me, but that was not to be. And I ended up falling in love with the dancer who did the second act Adagio ballet in Woman of the Year, and settling in the Hollywood Hills for a 35-year career doing television, where I own scenic shops and built scenery for Whit Thomas and a couple of other companies, and did some IBM tours in Miami, New Orleans, and Maui, and things like that. I had a lot of fun for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Spent the last 8 years on the prop crew, reading the scripts and getting everybody ready for their shooting day at The Young and the Restless at CBS.
Cool. Sounds like you were really versatile.
I did all sorts of things.
Yes.
So
that's fantastic. Just to make sure that all of our listeners know who we have on with us right now, this is the Wild Rivers Film Festival News Radio program, and we are lucky enough to have Michael Gorse with us as our guest today. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome. Happy to be here. And I really am happy to be here. I'm happy to be in Brookings, which I find to be a wonderfully eclectic, artistic community that has so much going for it. And I'm just hoping these days to help people get together and do production. One of the cool things about my career is production, which scares a lot of people, got demystified very early. And so I know that we can do anything we set our minds to. And it's actually more easy and fun if you just let it, kind of let it go.
Exactly. What little I have worked with you directly on making things like this podcast, you are very spontaneous, and it's amazing how you can just pull it all together at once. It amazes me that that's even possible. And not only do you pull it together, but it comes out really good.
Well, I like doing it. It's fun. What business were we in? Communications. What's all our problems? Usually communications. Production is easy. People are sometimes tough. Life is good if you let it be. And we all up here, there's a truly inspired community of people just trying to do really, really cool and good things right here, right now. And when I fell in with you and Sue Wright and Amanda Whittemore and all the people at Wild Rivers, it was a little bit like a match made in heaven, because you were the guys that hadn't yet, were just getting your shoes wet doing the film festival and starting to understand where the oopses potentially exist for you. And I kind of think of myself as ADHD, seeing around all the next corners, and pretty adept at show business. So I think we can do whatever we want.
Well, you have been a great guide for us. We really appreciate you. So tell us more about your exciting life. What do you want to accomplish? What are some big things you have coming up?
In the last few years, my honest belief is that we need to fix the water issues we've created on the planet in order to be able to, let nature get back to being nature and stop. We need to, there was an old commercial when I was a kid about, it's not nice to fool Mother Nature.
Yes.
We've been doing that. It feels like. And I think we are in a time where we are heading into healing waters times. And I just want to be represented as trying to be on the part of humanity and making the good happen.
Mm-hmm. And this is definitely an area that inspires that in people, I think.
All sorts. As a matter of fact, I'm going to attend my first SOCAN meeting on this coming Tuesday, and that's an entire group up here dedicated to fixing that. I've been doing some studying about the different tribes up here, and the Yaruk of the upriver Klamath tribes do a fall celebration called Pikiavish, which is fixing the world, fixing our souls, fixing the water. It's a 3-day celebration where they just reset their mental, spiritual beings towards healing and creating good things. And so, those kind of things, those are fun things to learn about.
Absolutely. Now, will you be filming at all during that 3-day time, or you were just a participant at this point?
I am not yet invited to do that, and it's not something they, generally speaking, invite people in to film. It's a spiritual thing for them, and I respect that. So that could happen at some point or more than that. I could help them set up so they could film it, and then we could help present it. But all of these things are wonderful stories, I think, that we could share within the film festival community.
Absolutely. So I had also heard, and I might be wrong on this, were you working on something with the Tolowa?
It is not accurate to say I am working on stuff for the Tolowa, and if they accept and are cool, and I can't tell you enough how important it is when we are dealing with our Indigenous brothers and sisters, that they've been through so much, and their way is the way that they need to find their path through, and we need to operate with respect in that pursuit. I can't tell anybody anything. I can't make anybody anything. I don't even wanna. We present wonderful, loving ideas, and hopefully people catch them. And that's the cool thing. What I am working on actively with the film right now, going back to that St. John's that we talked about at the beginning of the thing, and the folk masses and all of that, 3 blocks away from me was Joanie Lindenmeyer. Grew up 3 years younger than I, at St. John's Elementary School. Apparently, I taught her some guitar, and she remembers riding on my handlebars of my bicycle at some point, which is, I was a kid. Can't honestly say I remember giving her a ride on my bicycle, but okay.
You might have charged a penny or
I no, although I probably charged for guitar lessons. I don't know. Anyhow. But her dad was my baseball, football, and basketball coach in elementary school. So this very strangely, late this past year, I am in a conversation with somebody and they bring up the Joanie Lindenmeyer, this local author who has done 3 books and now the audio book of her first book, None Better. And the first thing I think is Lindenmeyer is not the most common name in the universe. That's pretty weird. So I reached out to her, and sure enough, it's exactly, and she's even writing about people that we grew up with in her first book, None Better, where she talks about having fallen in love with, as a novice nun, falling in love with Carol, another nun, and realizing that the two of them needed to escape the confines of the nunnery in the Catholic Church and the strictures and become two loving, wonderful human beings engaged in their life together. And what they did was set up here 30 years ago in Northern Oregon, Brookings, and begin offering support and love for the LGBTQ plus community in the midst of AIDS. And later, Carol had a brain bleed stroke, and for 8 years, Joanie took care of her before she finally passed about 3 years ago, giving way to the book None Better. And I am in the process of helping her capture videos with her people, and they are all Brookings, mostly Brookings people. She has, in her second and third books, 32 contributing authors. And so we're capturing content from all of this stuff, and I am trying to put together a festival film for her for this coming year, if we can get it done in time, that tells her story full-fledged and molds it in with the story of a lot of other Brookings folks and kind of put us on the map a little bit with this short documentary.
Sounds like it'd be really well received here.
I hope so. And we're about, a short documentary's got to be less than 40 minutes. I'm at 32 minutes already on this project.
Oh, wow. So it might be a bigger documentary.
Well, no, I got to keep it in the short documentary thing.
Okay.
So you add and add and add, and at some point you start taking things out that you realize that's the creative process of filmmaking.
It is. And I love the shorts myself. I think they're sometimes more exciting and fun to watch than a full-length film.
It certainly, you eat less popcorn.
Well, it challenges your thinking more.
Exactly. And I think that's the most wonderful thing about going to a movie. It's that suspension of disbelief that allows you to enter somebody else's world, even if only for 35 minutes or so, and really feel and come to understand what these other human beings are going through in life.
Exactly. I know that the people in the community love to see local talent on the screen. So not only as actors, actresses, and those type of things, but they like hearing the local stories. And I think it's fantastic. I look forward to you bringing that to the festival this year.
Well, thank you. I think that what you just described in essence is the why Wild Rivers Film Festival and the news, Wild Rivers News on KCIW are wonderful, wonderful components, because that's what you do, is you present to the community the community. It's not so much holding up a mirror, it's kind of holding up our joint portrait and celebrating us.
Yes, that's a good way to describe it. And the film festival itself, I think the whole thing feels like a grand celebration. And I love the people that it brings into the community, the camaraderie that develops with people you never knew before. You just met them. And within the next few hours, suddenly it feels like we're all such close friends.
Absolutely. And it starts early, because you guys have such incredible foresight that you operate this class for the kids that happens, what, in June? First, second
Yes.
week in June. That's the most magnificent gift you give, I think. The film festival is for the parents to bring the kids into the community, into the greater community, to give them voice, to give them a platform from which to learn new talents, and then show those talents. That's the greatest gift that you can give another human being. And you guys did it for 25 people last year.
Yeah,
I only bumped into it at the end, but it was beautiful to see.
It was exciting because the kids came in, different ages, different experiences. Some of them had done YouTube. Some of them knew what a camera was. Some of them had no clue. But they just jumped right in as though it was a pool and didn't ask, is this the deep end? They just jumped in. And all of a sudden, on day 2, we saw all these kids grabbing equipment and running all around and making their own films. And by the end of the week, we took them up to Stout Grove, to where there was a tree that had fallen, and we were doing a documentary with the Tolowa D Nation, and the kids were helping to film. Anyway, they got some great footage, and the extension of that class from last year is that this year we want those same kids to come out with their cell phone cameras and take film footage of this entire festival, and let's make a new movie of that.
I love that idea.
And we think the kids will. We want them to, every festival that happens in this town, imagine if the kids all made a movie of every festival we had all year.
I think you've started a tradition, young lady.
I hope so.
I hope so, too. That sounds brilliant, because what it does is it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of love.
Yes. And I hope that we get a new crop of kids this year, just as excited as last year. And I'm hoping that some of our kids from last year can come back. We've added on a 3-day extension, and that 3-day extension is going to have some tips for acting. And what we thought, this is a rough draft, rough idea, could change. But we thought one of the things we could do for them is teach them how to write a resume to get themselves into the film business or film industry. And there's lots of different jobs they could do. And one of them, they could start off as easy as being just a second in a movie. You know, they could volunteer to be the kid who walks down the street. So we wanted to teach them a little bit about that, give them a good headshot that they could advertise with, show them what things are available, where to look, and just keep on advancing the excitement for them in this whole business. So
I think that's a brilliant idea. And they are, if I have any kind of a little gift to add, it's that don't feel intimidated. We'll do it together. You'll feel okay. It's all empowerment when you press the red button, because when you press your red button, you're in charge. That's the filmmaker's joy and delight, and the opportunity that the kids will realize is open to them now that they know how to get one foot in the door once you get that foot in the door, you just hold it there. Let them try slamming it on it. You'll be fine. Just keep doing your thing. Be creative. Create. And the creative muse will take care of you.
Sounds like excellent advice, Michael. It's been a pleasure talking with you this afternoon on the Wild Rivers Film Festival News Radio program. Any last words of advice, although those were fantastic words of advice?
Well, don't take any wooden nickels.
Oh, that's another good one.
Yeah, I don't know. The greatest advice that I can give is load your toolbox with opportunities and a little bit of joy, and leave the problems at home, leave the issues behind. When you move into your creative space to do creative things, make it all about the joy. One of the coolest things about Joanie Lindenmeyer's new show is Joyously Free. Is she preaches? She's on a mission of preaching joy. Joy is non-denominational, and I grew up just old enough that the nuns no longer hit me with the ruler. They used an emotional yardstick, but not a ruler. And so we need to relearn some of the concerns that we grew into our past and were told to bring into adulthood. We need to be our inner childs and just love our inner child and let the creative muse freak flag fly, if you will.
Beautiful words to close our interview with. Thank you, Michael. And thank you, KCIW, for giving us this opportunity to be on the air. And thank you, all of our listeners, for joining us. Don't forget to check out our website, www.wildrivers.com. Check out our Facebook page, and let us hear from you. We'd love to talk. Thank you.
Thank you kindly. That was the Wild Rivers Film Festival news radio program. We are super excited to be able to see these filmmakers in person and all the work that they've done, all the directors and producers at the Redwood Theater here in Brookings, Oregon, the third week of August. And again, do go to the wildriversfilmfestival.com website to sign up for your sponsorship part. You will be seen on the big screen and all the promotional material, possibly even get space on the hoodie. All right. Thank you so much for your past participation, to all of our sponsors with the Wild Rivers Film Festival. Thank you.